Let me ask you about your termination letter to Mr. Comey. You write, I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation. Why did you put that in there?
Because he told me that. I mean, he told me that.
He told you weren't under investigation
yeah,
with
and
regard to the Russia investigation?
I've heard that from others.
Oh yeah, I want to believe that so much. James Comey on 3 separate occasions told Donald Trump, hey, bro, you're not under investigation. Don't worry about it. Or maybe is it the fact that Donald Trump might put that in there to lead people off his trail? It's saying to the public, hey, this has nothing to do with my ties to Russia or my supposed ties to Russia. I mean, he told me on 3 separate occasions that I wasn't under investigation for, my supposed ties to Russia, so that's obviously not the reason that I fired him. That obviously has nothing to do with it because I said that he said on 3 separate occasions, nah, man, you're not under investigation. Don't worry about it. I might give someone the benefit of the doubt in this scenario, but not this man, not Donald Trump.
I think.
Was it in a phone call? Did you meet face to face?
I had a dinner with him. He wanted to have dinner because he wanted to stay on. We had a very nice dinner at the White House very early on. A dinner was arranged. I think he asked for the dinner. And he wanted to stay on as the FBI head. And I said, I'll, consider, we'll see what happens. But we had a very nice dinner.
So they had this nice dinner because James Comey wanted to stay on as the FBI director, and somehow he got wind of the fact that he was going to get fired, and so he wanted to sit down with Donald Trump. He asked for the sit down and then told Donald Trump while they were sitting over some nice wine and some steak, some Trump steaks. He said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, in case you were going to fire me, I'm not investigating you. Regardless if I should investigate you or not, I'm not investigating you. Please don't fire me. Is this what I'm supposed to believe too? So this is the first occasion. He said on 3 separate occasions that he told him. So Lester, press him and see if you can find out the other occasions.
And at that time he told me, you are not under investigation, which I knew anyway.
That was one meeting. What was the
First of all, when
2?
you're under investigation, you're giving all sorts of documents and everything. I knew I wasn't under. And I heard it was stated at the committee, at some committee level, that I wasn't. Number one.
So that didn't come directly
Then
from
during
him.
a phone call he said it, and then during another phone call he said it. So he said it once at dinner, and then he said it twice during phone calls.
Okay, so then 2 more phone calls. He said you're not under investigation. Apparently, the dinner wasn't enough. He needed to let Donald Trump know again on 2 other separate occasions that you're not under investigation for your ties to Russia, although you absolutely should be because you still haven't given up your tax returns, and that would prove, if you do have ties to Russia financially, but, we don't get those because he doesn't want to give them to us.
Did you call him?
In one case I called him, in one case he called me.
And did you ask, am I under investigation?
I actually asked him, yes. I said, if it's possible, would you let me know, am I under investigation? He said, you are not under investigation.
Wait, I thought he already knew. And apparently James Comey told him over dinner that he wasn't under investigation, but he still needed to ask him if he was under investigation? Why? Why? None of this makes sense to me. Donald Trump is a proven liar, and we're supposed to go through all of this, oh yeah, I remember this, and it was like that, and oh, I specifically said this, and he specifically said that. It's a bunch of bullshit.
But he's given sworn testimony that there is an ongoing investigation into the Trump campaign and possible collusion with the Russian government. You were the centerpiece of the Trump campaign.
Well, all
so
I
was
can
he
tell
being
you is,
truthful when he
well,
says
I
you
know
were
one
under
thing. I
investigation?
know that I'm not under investigation.
So James Comey actually testifies under oath that there is an investigation ongoing into Donald Trump's affairs with Russia or any ties to Russia, financial or otherwise. So he's just going to fire James Comey and he's going to get someone else in there who agrees with him. And this firing acts as a signal to all the other people working in the FBI and all the other people working for Donald Trump that he has the power to fire, that he will fire you if you investigate him, or if you look into his affairs at all, or question his ideology or what he's doing. So is Donald Trump reaching across the aisle? Hell no. Is this bipartisan politics? The farthest from it.
Me, personally, I'm not talking about campaigns. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not under investigation.
Did you ask him to drop the investigation?
No, never.
No, never. He never asked him to drop the investigation. Guess why he never had to ask him? Because I don't think James Comey was ever going to stop, and I don't think James Comey ever said to Donald Trump that he was not investigating him. I think that Donald Trump knew he was investigating him and knew that James Comey wasn't completely on his side and was going to look into this Russia stuff completely and fully.
Anyone from the White House?
No, in fact, I want the investigation speeded up.
Did anyone from the White House ask him to end the investigation?
No, why would we do that?
Any surrogates on behalf of the White House?
Not that I know of. Look, I want to find out if there was a problem with an election having to do with Russia, or by the way, anybody else, any other country. And I want that to be so strong and so good, and I want it to happen.
Oh, I bet you want this all to be wrapped up, don't you, Donald Trump? Yeah, that's why you gave over your tax returns right away to prove that you had no financial ties with Russia. That's why you did that, right? That's the kind of guy you are. You just clear stuff up for the public and say, here you go, I'm an open book, and that's done with. No, that's not who you are, and that's why I know that something fishy is going on. Because if there wasn't, you wouldn't be so adamant about not giving up your tax returns, even in light of firing James Comey, who had an ongoing investigation into your ties with Russia. Does this sound suspicious to anybody else other than me? Well, no, I think a lot of people are actually coming around now to see how much of a jackass Donald Trump actually is. And I won't feel so alone in the world anymore.
I also want to have a really competent, capable director. He's not. He's a showboater. He's not my man or not my man. I didn't appoint him. He was appointed long before me. But I want somebody who's going to do a great job. And I will tell you, we're looking at candidates right now who could be spectacular.
And by spectacular, Donald Trump means an FBI director that's going to close the investigation. That's what he means by spectacular. And did you hear the reasons Donald Trump gave for firing him? Like he's a showboat, but he didn't really say anything of substance, that he was bad at his job, that we needed to get someone in there that was going to do this or that better. He didn't once say the actual failings of James Comey as an FBI director. You think that Donald Trump would love James Comey, given the fact that he reopened the investigation into Hillary Clinton right before the election. You think that Republicans would love him, especially Donald Trump. And I believe Donald Trump actually liked James Comey for doing that. And I believe he only stopped liking James Comey once he said this.
As you know, our practice is not to confirm the existence of ongoing investigations, especially those investigations that involve classified matters. But in unusual circumstances, where it is in the public interest, it may be appropriate to do so, as Justice Department policies recognize. This is one of those circumstances. I have been authorized by the Department of Justice to confirm that the FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts. As with any counterintelligence investigation, this will also include an assessment of whether any crimes were committed. Because it is an open, ongoing investigation and is classified, I cannot say more about what we are doing and whose conduct we are examining.
Well, James Comey, you kind of already said who you were investigating. You're investigating anybody that's associated with the Trump campaign, and that includes Donald Trump, and I'm sure he's probably numero uno in the investigation. Now, this was published on NBC News on March 20th, about 2 months after Donald Trump is inaugurated as president. Now, we must keep in mind that James Comey refused to give testimony into whether or not there was an ongoing investigation all the way up until this point when this was published on March 20th. And then soon after that, what happens to the guy? He gets canned. Now, I don't have a crystal ball I can stare into and tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt if any of these things are true. But what I can tell you is that Donald Trump is a liar, that his story does not make sense, that the White House said his reasons for firing James Comey were actually different from what Donald Trump said himself. There's so much confusion surrounding this, and it could all be cleared up, or at least Donald Trump could show a sign of good faith by giving over his tax returns, and then we could say that there is no financial dealings with Russia. But until he does that, until he shows good faith, I have no reason to believe him at this point in time. Unless Donald Trump magically becomes a different person, then why would anyone believe a word he is saying about why he fired James Comey? Well, we've made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching if you made it all the way through. And I just had a couple things to say at the end. I have a Twitter, I have a Facebook, and I have a Patreon for I'm a Skeptic. Any donations to the Patreon is greatly appreciated, and that goes towards helping me get better equipment and helping me survive so I can make these videos for you guys. But obviously, nothing is mandatory. If you feel like giving money to the Patreon, thank you so much. If you don't, then keep enjoying the videos. But that's all for now. I hope everyone has a good evening, and goodbye.